David would always give a reference. He gives a reference from Deuteronomy 18, and he usually uses two of the references, one 18, 20 to 22, when he's talking about Muhammad, and he's trying to prove that he is a false prophet and what could be his punishment for being a false prophet. I was going through Benny Hinn's recent interview. It's not a recent interview, it may be 8 or 9 months old, but I just came across it. And I always had doubts about, not about Benny Hinn in particular, but I had certain doubts about that. I think the time of ministries of miracles, wonders, and signs, they are over in the modern time, and it died with with apostles. And if it still exists, I think it's not real. It's just trying to use the emotional side of the people, because people have confirmation biases when they come with their problem to the churches. And that's one reason that when people come to churches, they need something which they want to listen to, and then these prophets. I grew up in Pakistan, so I know that there are another breed of false prophets over there, which are called Sufis, or the people who call peers. And these peers, they sit at their houses, and then lots of people come to their house, and they give offerings and return. They get children from them, and they get jobs from them, and they get everything, whatever they want to get. And these people are so smart, they know what they want, because they can read the human mind and the desperation of the people. So people like, I don't say that Benny Hinn is not a good prophet. I know that he has done a great job, but I think when it comes to false prophecies, I was always of the opinion that those prophecies are never correct. And David would always give reference to he gives reference about this false prophet, identifying the false prophet, and if the false prophet is giving prophecies which are not coming from God, what could be their punishment. Now listen to this, what Benny Hinn has to say.
We all make mistakes. The two things I regret most in ministry: I was not too wise a number of times with prophecy. Number one, I had guests come to the crusades that I think brought harm to not only people's lives, but also to my reputation, because their prophecies were not really prophecy. They went outside the borders of redemption. Because anything that's outside redemption is not prophecy.
So see, he's at least honest enough to admit it at the twilight of his pastorship career, and I think he has the guts, and he has the spine to admit it, which is a great thing to do. Most people, they don't like to admit such mistakes because they're afraid that they would lose their respect, which is not the real respect, but of course losing the followership of the people, which is also a great threat to people like pastors and political leaders and people who do all these kind of gimmickries. But anyway, I give full credit to Pastor Benny Hinn for coming out and admitting that most of his false prophecies were not accurate enough, and they not only brought what they were supposed to bring to the people for whom he was prophesying, and then of course it affected his own reputation at the same time. And hats off to him for being honest about it. The second thing that he mentioned in the same video is about the promotion of gospel of prosperity. And I have been talking a lot about this gospel of prosperity. And I visited so many churches in the United States in my early days. At that time, I was not in the United States. I used to come to the United States, and I was so fascinated by the size of the churches. And I always thought that perhaps America was the leader of the Christianity. And so I wanted to go to all those churches and watch all those priests and pastors in person to see like how they operate. And I went to many churches, and I found that at that time I identified something which was the gospel of prosperity, and I always thought about it. And I went back to Pakistan and I spoke to one of my own priests over there, and I said like why people are promoting gospel of prosperity. And then I suddenly realized that he started promoting the gospel of prosperity as well. So these are the two things. And of course the church, the Pentecostal church that I was going to, I was born as a Catholic, but anyway, I went to all kind of different churches. So and I saw that they used to invite the prophets and prophetesses from the other ministries, and they would come over there, and then they put hands on people, and then they would kind of mesmerize them or take control of their mental condition, and then they start prophesying on them. And it happened to me too. Like I get so emotional when one of the prophetess put her hand on me and she started prophesying on me. Like it's like in the heat of the moment, you just get involved and inspired so much about all that you feel that it is happening for you. So that's what I'm saying, is that I'm not that strict a person in this context that Pennyhood should be punished the way the Bible or Deuteronomy says that the false prophet is supposed to be punished, because we live in a different age. We live in an age of patience and acceptance and forgiveness, and a person like Benny Hinn, who has done so much for the church and for Christianity, and he finally has realized that what he was interpreting as prophecies were actually not prophecies, and they didn't do well to the people, because it didn't serve the purpose for which he was prophesying for them, and indeed that it brought bad reputation for him too. What I'm trying to say is that most of the people back home in Pakistan and the people who are here, I love all those pastors and all those priests, whatever church they go to, as long as they are promoting a true Bible-based church, and they're talking more about the real God and Christianity, and they're trying to save the spirit of Christianity, and they talk more about the revival of Christian church here in the United States or all over the world. I think it's an amazing effort, good job done by people who are doing it, but prosperity, because if you start promoting the gospel of prosperity and then you start flying yourself in private jets, and you have properties, tax-free properties, which extend from one side of the city and go to the other side of the city, and you cannot see the other end of your property, that's like really trying to give the impression to the people that if I am being the pastor and the leader of the church, I can have that kind of money and I can have that kind of prosperity. You can also have that kind of prosperity. I'm not against prosperity. I believe that everyone should have enough money, sufficient money, that whatever they want to do, they can do it, and whatever they want to eat, they can eat it, and whatever they want to wear, they can wear it, and whatever they want to drive, they could drive. But I mean, like selling the name of God or Jesus to get this much money from others, and then giving them false hope that this is the only way to get money. I don't agree with it. I think people have the right to listen to some honest people. That's why I have started going back to Catholic Church, because Catholic Church has so many problems in the eyes of people, and I mean, from top to bottom, you see so many problems in Catholic Church. But the one of the few things that Catholic Church has done remarkably in the history, in my opinion, the first is the Catholic Church actually saved Christianity. If there was no Catholic Church, there had been no Christianity. Catholic Church, I think, is the major church that has saved Christianity all over the world. And whatever Christians are there in the world, and whatever fraction of the Christian which is left behind, it's because of the Catholic Church. Pentecostal churches and all those Protestant churches, they're more concerned about offerings, in my opinion, and they don't have a frame within which they operate. They operate independently. Like when I go to a Pentecostal church, I see like person to my left is praying something else, and person to my right is praying something else, and they are all everybody's trying to pray in foreign tongues, which nobody understands, and very few of them can actually can interpret or decipher what tongues they're speaking. I am a great fan of what Paul said about tongues, and I'm not going to explain it, but what I'm saying is that people like Pastor Hinn, they should come up more and admit to the very fact that it was in the heat of the moment. Perhaps they themselves got into a certain kind of trance, or they were taken away by the emotions, or perhaps they got too much involved in that heat of spirituality to say something to help people to get something what they wanted to get. You should come forward more often and admit to the very fact, and that's how you can save the congregation, save Christianity, and save your own reputation. And I mean, like if I growing up in Pakistan was a person who used to laugh at all those peers who are sitting on shrines and giving kids to people and giving jobs to people in response to getting a great deal of offering and money, then what is the difference between all these pastors? I think not only that they should come up, they should admit to the very fact that all those false prophecies were actually, they didn't know that they were actually prophesying or not, and they should admit to it. And I think not only this, they should return all that money for which they received on the name of prophesying. This also leads to the churches in Pakistan. Pakistani prophets and Pakistani churches are like a different story. I would switch a little bit to the Urdu part here and then translate it to English. The English. This is the Pakistani prophets are really poor. They are not like Benny Hinn and Joel Osteen and Maldonado and Joyce Meyer and Rennie McLean and all those big names, T.D. Jakes. They most of them, they don't even have cars to go from one place to the other. Whatever, they go somewhere, they pray for people, and they get some money as an offering, and that's money they use to eat their dinner before they go to bed. So they are poor prophets. They are not like this, but they still like to follow the steps of these prophets which are here, and they dream of becoming like them. So the role models are pastors, these rich pastors and rich priests and rich prophets who work here, and then they set the foundation for all those priests and prophets living in countries, any third world country. Pakistan is an example because I live in Pakistan. I am from Pakistan, so I can give a better example to that. So in my opinion, Pakistani prophets should also not get lead from these pastors. I know they all revere them a lot. They all think that these are the giants of Christianity, but the truth of the matter is that the more you look at them, the more you see that the gospel of prosperity and prophesying on the name of just getting money and not being able to discern that what is a real prophecy and what is just a kind word to give consolation to one of the congregation member. So I wouldn't use very bad language about it. I think many Hinn's intentions were good, but I think like the way I used to say to my people when I was working in pharmaceutical, I always tell them, like, I like what you are doing, but I don't like the way you are doing it. I think it's about time that we should all admit to the very fact that the time of signs, miracles, and wonders is over. It's about the time when people started believing that the Bible is the only wonder, and Bible is the only sign, and Bible is the only miracle through which we have to go and believe in it and get prosperity through God. And it depends upon what kind of prosperity we're looking for. Is it the financial prosperity, or moral prosperity, or there are many different kind of prosperities over there. We have to choose one. And I think going to church and follow the messages is good, but I think we need to be able to discern, we need to be able to analyze, and we need to know that every message is not for us. Like every time we go to a church, we come out of the church and we think this message was sent to me by God for me, which tells us like, oh, how emotionally fragile we are. We shouldn't be that emotionally fragile. We should be able to stick to the standards. We should read the Bible. We should understand what actually the Bible is telling us to do, what the Bible carries for us. And I think that would help us a great deal to get rid of all those kinds of false prophets which are growing like mushroom around us, and all they are doing is earning money and making themselves prosperous. This is not the way to get prosperous. I think there are other ways: hard work, intelligence, smartness, and believing in God. I think these are the real paths we need to follow if we really want to prosper. Thank you very much. Bye bye.